Hi, welcome to today's episode of Top Dog Tips, where wellness workplace expert Sumana Jeddy shares with us how to spot some of the signs of burnout in the workplace and what you can do to prevent it. Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Top Dog Tips, expert business advice. Today, joining me is Sumana Jeddy. Hey, Sumana, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? I'm so happy to be here.
Happy to have you here too. So, Samantha, it's in increasingly busy, high-pressure working environments. Employees are often become the shock absorbers, taking the organizational strain, working longer, more frantic hours, and the incidences and cases of workplace burnout, it seems to be really exploding. So, tell me what are you seeing out there, and what are some of the things we need to watch for, and some of the things we can do to mitigate against burnout?
Yeah, thanks. That's a wonderful question. And, to be very honest, burnout has been around since the 70s. It's not a very new term. I come from healthcare. I've been in research my whole life. And when burnout first came to be what it was described as, you would only kind of associate burnout with occupations that are like giving occupations, like social workers and healthcare workers, right? It wasn't really expanded to the definition, which has become what it is right now, where we're seeing it basically across all industries. Every single person across all industries is feeling that burnout. And the most important thing to remember is that burnout is not the same as just stress, right? I think a lot of people think that stress and burnout is the same thing, but it's not. Burnout comes with a lot of different dimensions, the emotional exhaustion, cynicism, and depersonalization that occurs because there's chronic stress that builds up in your body, and then all of the systems start to sort of malfunction. So burnout in today's world, I think the pandemic, as I'm sure your audience knows, has escalated burnout, and we're sitting in front of our computers all day. We are dealing with this community that is, completely under a lot of stress as well. So for me, I think when I talk about burnout, I think you need to obviously pay attention to the signs and symptoms of burnout and remember that stress and burnout are not the same. And a lot of individuals who can handle stress can still be burnt out.
So the question I have is how do I know that I'm actually burnt out versus just pissed off?
That was a great question. I love that question. Well, like I said, when you're burnt out, you're going to feel those three dimensions, right? The first sort of early symptoms of burnout, it's very different for a lot of people, but a lot of early symptoms of burnout can seem very similar to just having a lot of stress. But then what happens later on is people start to develop, one of the most common ones is people waking up at the same time every day. They'd wake up in a panic at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, or they'll start to have memory loss, or they'll start to experience a lot of just, tension in your chest. The anxiety starts to build up. A lot of people will also have brain fog. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but a lot of people going through cancer have brain fog. But it's kind of like looking through your life through a hazy window where you don't really know what reality is, but you kind of are still working, but you're not 100%. And then as you get more and more burnt out, you start to get more cynical towards work. You start to notice that maybe I don't like my job anymore. Maybe there's a person in the organization that I don't like, or just this like general like resentment that builds up, and that's when you sort of reach the peak of your burnout.
Okay, so that being said, what are some quick tips on how to avoid burnout?
Lots of things. I guess one of the biggest ones would be to have this awareness, right? Identifying that good stress and bad stress and chronic stress and acute stress are all very different things. And what we want to be able to understand is how our body manages stress. And if we can pinpoint to know that this stressor versus the stress response that my body is giving me. How am I dealing with that? Is it just the workload that's making me burnt out? Do I start to feel really anxious at certain times of the month? Certain times my projects are very high. There's certain things that you can do to prevent burnout. And the most important thing is to remember that your stress can be manifested in many different ways. So if you're starting to experience like random abdominal pain because of stress or these headaches that are happening all the time, pay attention to those headaches, pay attention to those abdominal pains. It could be stress related.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Yeah, interesting. It's mind, body, spirit comes to mind. So, um, okay. So you've shared some what ifs. Do you actually have a story that you can share with us that illustrates the effect and starts somebody going through burnout?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share my story if your audience will probably resonate with it as well. As I am a high performer, I worked in healthcare my whole life, and someone who loved their job. I was very, very passionate. And then when burnout hit me, just like hitting that brick wall, a lot of people say, I didn't know where it came from. And then one fine day, I was just completely emotionally and physically like not myself anymore.
Mhm.
That happened to me sort of in 2018, 2019, when the workload was really, really high. And there was just a lot of workplace challenges that were unprecedented. And I didn't really know how to deal with it. The only solution that came to my mind was, well, if I work more, if I put more hours in,
Right.
I'm going to
Yeah.
be able to keep up, right? So that negative self-talk is like more work means I'll be able to catch up. That didn't work out so well for me. And I burned out and it was really bad. I remember feeling like, why is my brain broken? There was this one day I specifically remember, Greg, where I was like, I can't perform like a really simple task of like
Yeah.
remembering my password. And I forgot my password multiple times during the day. And I would have to call IT multiple times to do a
Wow.
password reset. And that was scary because you start to think that my intellect, the one thing that I'm really proud of, is not functioning the way that it should. And that was my sign that I think I need to get some help.
Okay. So I guess you bring a been there, done that experiential experience to the table when you're dealing with people. So why don't you share a little bit about tell me a little bit about your company and your services. What do you bring to the table?
I love that. Yeah, so Jeddy Wellness is the name of my company, and I started it basically because I noticed that there was this gap in knowledge between what the research was sharing about burnout and the symptoms and preventions of it, and then what solutions were being presented to us, the public. I come from public health. I have a master's in public health, so I realized that that knowledge transfer, there was a gap that I wanted to kind of close. And so Jeddy Wellness sort of came to become what it is right now, based on that desire to learn, to take that research and then share it in a way. I call them like wellness shots, but share it in a way where people can learn practical prevention strategies. I'm not talking about recovery, I'm talking about prevention.
Okay.
And a lot of the solutions are for individuals. I do work with individuals one-on-one, but I do a lot of support for organizations that are looking for, research-based strategies that can be practical, tactical, and that can be customized to each workplace because every workplace is different. So
Yeah.
those are some of the solutions that I provide.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And I think with these days, with all the stress that people are out there, I think your services are more in demand than ever. So you're in a good space. Good news, bad news story, right? So, okay, so great. So, how can our audience people want to get a hold of you? How can they connect with you?
I'm on every social media you can think of, but the most popular one and the one where I'm there all the time is definitely LinkedIn. So Sumana Jeddy on LinkedIn, and then Jeddy Wellness on TikTok. I make a lot of TikToks, and on Instagram as well are the three main platforms that you can find me.
Okay, fantastic. Well, the way to find you is click onto our banner link below. There's all of Samantha's information will be on there. You'll get directed to a way to get and connect with her. So, hey, listen, thank you very much. That's all the time we have for today's episode of Top Dog Tips, No BS Expert Advice. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, share, tell all your friends. be sure to subscribe to our YYC business channel, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you.